observations about the natural world out of her top pocket and jotted down pencils for squirrels. She'd add it to her list of things to invent to make the world a better place. "I'm leaving these here," she told the squirrel anyway, stretching up to the lowest branch of the tree and placing the handkerchief package on top. She fished a bicycle reflector out of her school bag. Uncle Douglas didn't ride his bike, he wouldn't miss it, and fastened it around the bark. "Just look out for the light. It should be easy to spot." The squirrel flicked its tail and dashed up the tree. Agnes hoped that it would be curious enough to investigate her handkerchief and find the acorns inside. As she turned back to the path, a pair of blacker-than-night eyes peeped out at her from the darkness of a nearby bush. They had been observing her very closely. Blissfully unaware that someone was watching her, Agnes stopped by the pond and shielded the sun from her eyes as she looked out over the water. The resident Brecon buff geese were swimming under the bridge, ruffling their pale brown feathers as they scooped leafy pondweed into their pink bills. Agnes looked for the smallest goose in the flock. She usually found him sitting on his own on the bankside, nesting in a huff. "Kenneth!" Agnes called, cupping her hands around her mouth. "I've got your favourite!" Suddenly, there was a splash and a loud honk, and a small goose came charging across the water towards Agnes. The other geese noticed her too and came swimming closer. "There you are," Agnes said, as Kenneth waddled up to her. He shut his deep brown eyes as Agnes stroked his soft head. She'd named him Kenneth because on the day she'd met him, he'd tried to eat her copy of The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. Agnes hadn't been able to understand why he was so hungry at first. After all, there was plenty of bread around for all the geese to eat. Determined to find out what was wrong, Agnes had searched through one of her parents' very large and very dusty books on common waterfowl, and learned that bread wasn't really good for geese at all. It was like fast food. It filled geese up without giving them the nutrients they needed. So now, Agnes reached into her pocket and retrieved a paper bag filled with her own special blend of oats, seeds, lentils and greens. She'd spent weeks perfecting the recipe to make sure it was extra tasty. "There's sunflower seeds in this batch," she said. "Here you go." The blacker-than-night eyes watching Agnes blinked. Incredible! This little girl, with no proper training, had identified the dietary needs of a flock of geese and designed a feed mix to suit them. Well, with those parents, of course, was it any wonder? What pedigree! The girl obviously had special skills that up until now had gone unnoticed by the rest of the world. "I'm home!" Agnes shouted, returning to her 26th floor flat. "That's nice, Agnes," Uncle Douglas called to her from the kitchen. Agnes peered through the doorway at him. He was sitting at their dining table, hunched over his laptop, all attention focused on the screen. Behind him, Agnes noticed a pot of pasta about to overboil on the stove, like always. She shook her head and left Douglas to it, then trudged across the hall to her room. When she opened her door, she froze. There was a something on her bed. It was about the size of a large hamster, but it had a long tail and small ears, and its body was covered in shiny fur that changed colour from fire orange on its head to jet black everywhere else. Its two blacker-than-night eyes were ringed in snow-white hair. It blinked at Agnes and rolled onto its hind legs. And that's when Agnes noticed the most curious thing about it. It was wearing a tiny safari uniform, sand beige, perfectly ironed, and festooned with pockets. "Hello?" Agnes managed, venturing slowly in and shutting the door quietly behind her. If Douglas saw she had an animal in her room, he'd go crazy. She took a deep breath, trying to control her shock. Studying the animal's features, she made an educated